Welcome to Selling in the Motor Trade, in association with Automotive Management and SMT. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips, and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. And firstly, I want to say thank you for taking the time to tune in. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. We like interviewing people. We've had so many great guests on the podcast. Had people like Dr. T talk about the psychology about why people do anything, why people buy things, motivating salespeople, motivating service advisors, staff within your business. We've had industry leaders like David Peel when he was running Peugeot. We've had Dave Anderson from America, Gavin Hydes from the Joe Duffy Group telling us about so much things about how he actually runs the business. I was amazed at how open he was about what he actually does within his organization. There's been too many great guests there. But I tell you what, there's lots of people like these, we call them solos in symcotraining. We have lots of requests where people say, hey, just give us some of your ideas to let all our salespeople listen to not just salespeople, staff and so forth. So here's another one of what we call the solos. And I suppose this episode is all going to be about how do you get people to do things they should do. You get frustrated when you're asking people to go out and do something, and 5 minutes later, you've got to go and do it yourself, okay? Or they just don't do it. Yeah, I'll get to it when I can there. So what actually motivates people? Money? Is that a motivator? Yeah, it could be. But is money the best motivator? Don't know. Maybe for some people, maybe not. Let me ask you a question. If I turn around and said, hey, listen, I really appreciate you listening to this podcast because that there you go, there's $1,000 or €1,000, there's £1,000 for listening to this podcast. Will you feel motivated? Probably will. You feel really good about that. Okay, cool. Okay. But then if I turn around and said to your colleague, hey, there you go, I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. For that, there's £2,000. Now that £1,000 that was motivating you, is that now a motivator or a demotivator? What? I give you $1,000 to listen to this podcast and you're upset with me? Of course, in that situation, the money wasn't the motivator or the demotivator. It's almost like, why were they worth more than what I was? Oh, also, any privilege becomes a right. Now, what I mean by that is, if I gave you $1,000 for listening to this podcast, the next time you tuned in, what would you be expecting? You're right, there's $1,000. Now, if you didn't get it, what's wrong with me? Why do I not get it this time? Any privilege becomes a right. Listen, the senior managers, dealer principals, heads of businesses, you'll remember times where you take that person in for their first job in selling. In fact, I remember a lovely conversation with a young lad that got a job in a Audi dealership in Stafford, part of the Swansway group. And we were doing training with him. And he just got given a brand new Audi A1. I don't even know what car it was, but it was taxed, it was insured, and he loved that car. You see, he come out of a Corsa. He absolutely loved that car. He went back to the old work they used to work at, on his first weekend away and said, here's my lovely new car. He tells a story great where he took grandma to the garden centre in his lovely new Audi A1. How long did he like that Audi A1 for? Yeah, you've guessed it. Not that long at all, because the other trainee, they put him in an A3. Someone else was driving a Q5. Someone's in a Q3. Look, the boss is in some RS, whatever it is, okay? How long do you like that piece of shit poverty pack A1? It wasn't that long at all, because very quickly we start comparing ourselves with everyone else. In fact, don't some of your salespeople just want to chalk the board? There's almost no profit in that deal, but they just want to chalk the board because they want to actually see their name up on that board for what they've achieved. So let's have a look at motivation, and I'll tell you where I've nicked some of these ideas from. I think Kenneth Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager, It's such a simple, easy little book there. You've got Tony Robbins or Anthony Robbins talking about what motivates people. They both of those come down to two basic things. Human beings are only motivated by seeking pleasure or avoid pain. It's seek pleasure or avoid pain. It's the carrot and the stick. Okay. So that's the only way we're going to motivate people, carrot and the stick. Listen, which one do you think's the best motivator for getting someone to do something? Carrot or the stick? Are you sitting there thinking, carrot? That's what we like to think. We'd all like to think, yeah, that sounds good, get people who want to do it. But actually, it's probably the stick gets someone to do something a lot quicker. Now, it might not be great for long-term motivation, but the stick gets someone to do something quicker, okay? It's almost that fear. Is that the way we really want to motivate our staff, though? Let's go one stage further, because Anthony Robbins talks about there's the carrot and the stick, okay? Seeking pleasure or avoid pain, okay? Well, actually, let me think about it. Why do you go to work? Actually, it's one of two things. You go to work too, so I can earn some money. So what? If I don't earn money, I can't pay for the mortgage. So what? Well, they might take the house off me. So what? Well, my wife and kids will have nowhere to live. So what? Well, they might leave me. So what? Okay, some people might be working just to earn that money to pay the bills. Or someone might be working to, I want to save money to go on that holiday. I want that lovely new watch I've been dreaming about. I want that house. I want to move to a better location. It might be seeking the pleasure of those things it can do, or avoid the pain of those things. So now, there's also one other part of motivation we need to look at. There's internal motivation and there's external motivation. So what we do in the motor trade is so often it's external motivation. And I'm going to look at motivating a salesperson to do something. There's only two ways we can do it, carrot or the stick. Now, if I increase both of those, I could almost get someone to absolutely anything. I could come and put a gun to someone's head. That's a really big stick. I'd almost get them to do lots and lots of things that they'd never normally want to do. However, external motivation is always temporary. As soon as I take the gun away, are they going to do what they want to do? No, of course not. Or I could turn around and say, hey, here's $1 million. I could almost get people to do a hell of a lot of things. But in those cases, external motivation is always temporary. As soon as you take that away, they might go back to doing what they've done. Let me give you a war story. A man called Steve Leet, I got something wrong with. I just started out in symcotraining. We did some training with him at Robinson Day, Maidstone Robinson Day, big Peugeot dealership down in Kent for the people listening outside this country. At the time, I think it was might have been one of the biggest profit earning dealers in the whole Robinson Day network. Okay, I think, don't quote me on that. It was right up there though. Okay, and he had a situation where 1 month we were turning up to doing our standard training. He said, right, Simon, this month it's all about PCP. What we need to do is we need to get to our PCP target. There's a month 13 bonus. So if we get to our yearly target, there's a big chunk of money comes in at the end of the year. Okay. So, right, okay, we're going to train you guys on how to sell PCP, but it's all about focus. How much are you paying your salespeople to sell PCP? It's a good point. So he worked out what he could afford, and we said, right, let's pay them £200 for every PCP case they do. I said, perfect. So I did all the training. We got the guys how to introduce PCP, put the hooks in there, explaining all the objections, how to overcome the objections to PCP, to traditional finance, how to qualify effectively early on there. And it worked. Steve even phoned me up and said, well done, Simon. We've had a great result there. We got our month 13 bonus and we've earned X amount for the year. It's a huge effort there. I thought, yay, I've done well. Of course, I've got it completely wrong. Because what happened to the sale of PCP sales in January? You're right. They absolutely stopped. Because if I was worth that back in November, December, why am I not worth that now? Okay. Any privilege very, very quickly becomes a right. And you start taking that away, then people start getting upset with you. Hey, don't believe me? Go into any salesperson and take their demonstration vehicle off them. Okay. Put them back into the car they had when they first started and just see how they react there. Now, some of you might say, well, their car isn't a privilege. Okay. That was actually part of their contract. Yeah, fine. But you get the point. Okay. So we've got carrot and stick. There's external motivation is temporary. But then you've got the other sort of motivation. That's internal motivation, where people want to do things. Don't you get some salespeople, they just want to be top of the board all the time, okay? They want that title more than the money. They want actually what things are going to do for them, okay? Money itself is not a motivator. People don't want a whole lot of money sitting around so they can smell their money. Maybe they do, okay? But for lots of people, I don't think money's the motivator. It's what it can do for them. So back to internal, external motivation. Let's have a look at a classic example of external motivation. Let's take a sporting star like a Lewis Hamilton. I love to watch Formula One. This is a really good season at the moment. Don't know when you're listening to this, but there's Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. It's a really close thing. And I hope that Lewis actually gets his 8th title. But actually, Lewis Hamilton is a 7 times world champion. Is he still doing it just for the money? Is he still doing it because I don't know how to pay for my rent and my Monaco apartment? Probably not. I'm guessing Lewis Hamilton's doing all right financially. I'm guessing he's still doing it for that internal motivation. Okay. That's why league tables work really, really well for motivating people. Okay. Actually, personal best targets work really, really well. Okay. If there's any golfers listening to this, aren't you almost fighting against yourself all the time? I've been jogging and the lockdown and trying to lose down. My very first lockdown, we've had a few since, and I'm keeping up where I can. Okay. And it's quite funny with jogging. I find it gets quite addictive. And by the way, I'm not jogging, doing marathon stuff like that there, but whenever I do, I just do a 5K journey or 5 miles it is, not sure, one of those. Okay, that's how much I don't really jog. But actually, I just want to beat my time. I just want to do it a little bit faster and a little bit faster and a little bit faster. I can feel myself getting almost addicted to going a little bit further, a little bit further. That's that internal motivation. So let's go back to motivating. Before we start motivating a salesperson or a service advisor or technicians, anyone in your business, let's motivate a parrot. And Kenneth Blanchard talks about this on some of his in his books, I think, and some of his podcasts and so forth. Go and have a look on YouTube. But he turns around and says, right, what we're going to do is we're going to get this parrot to come out of a box, walk up a ladder, walk across a tightrope, walk down a ladder, get to a platform, turn around 360 degrees to the left, and put their foot on the lever to get some seed. And the only way we can do that, okay, is the carrot or the stick. So what are we going to do to get this parrot to do this to start with? What do you reckon the parrot trainer is going to use, the carrot or the stick? Now, I recommend we replace the stick with a little bit of a zapper, because the stick might not be a lot of the parrot left. And the carrot we'll replace with some seed, because we know the parrot that likes its food, its seed. Okay, so we've got the zapper and this the seed. What are we going to use to start with? Hold on, but Simon, you said before, fear gets people to do things quicker. The stick. But have you ever been bollocked for doing something wrong, but you didn't realize it was wrong? How do you feel? Don't you resent the person giving you the bollocking? Okay. Of course you do. If you just go and zap it and zap it and zap it, the parrot won't know what to do. Not to go, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to cower in its box and start attacking the person given the zapping because it doesn't know any different. In fact, I work with some businesses where they have some standards. Work with one business where the man doesn't like brown shoes. And the theory is you don't wear brown to town. It's one of his standards that he likes. I have another dealer group where they don't like coats on the back of the chairs because it's part of standards and it looks sloppy. And it's quite funny. In these organizations, every now and then I get brand new salespeople turn up and I put the coat on the back of the chair. They might wear brown shoes. My pet hate was people coming to work with their tie on. I want them to come to work with their tie on, ready for work, not with the tie around their neck. Now that was drummed into me by one of my first bosses, okay? So, but it's quite funny, okay? When someone works for me, when they turn up with a tie around their neck, if I don't tell them that that's one of my pet hates to start with, one of my standards, okay? I get people that come and say, they put their coat on the back of a chair in this particular organization. And sometimes they get a bollocking for it. If they didn't know why, they think, well, this is a stupid idea. What's that all about? It's just a coat on the back of the chair. This is ridiculous. Well, he needs to get up-to-date brown shoes. There's nothing wrong with brown shoes. No, unless they understand the reasons why, and there's really good reasons on all of those, okay, then people understand. So if we just zap this parrot, it doesn't know why, it's not going to work. Now, are we going to wait until it does it 100% right before we reward it with the seed? No, you're going to be waiting a long time. Now, what the parrot trainer will do is, one day the parrot's going to come out of its box, okay? Through no fault of own, it's going to step on. So where's the box? So I want you to picture this now, okay? Normally I draw it out. So we've got the box up the top. It's going to walk down the ladder, walk across this tightrope, even if I can say it, walk up the ladder, get to this platform, and turn around 360 degrees. So day one, it might come out of the box, and they'll make one of the rungs on the ladder a different color, red, different shape as well, I think, from memory. And when it steps on that rung of the ladder, bang, they give it some food. Next day, it comes out, goes to that same rung on the ladder. Very quickly, it starts realizing there's a relationship between that rung on the ladder and getting the seed. So once it does that, it goes, yep, I'm just going to go straight to it all the time. But then, of course, what the parrot trainer will do, once it's used that, they'll move the rung of the ladder down one. Now, next day it comes out, it goes to the same, or what it thought was the same rung on the ladder. It doesn't get anything, okay? It says, hold on, where's my food? Sees the different colored rung of the ladder, different shape one. It's been moved. It goes down there, it gets its food. Now, the next day, the parrot comes out and goes straight to the rung of the ladder where it gets its food. It gets nothing. No, because we don't want it to shortcut the process. If you reward the parrot for shortcutting the process even once, it's going to keep doing it. No, so what it does is it goes back to the first rung of the ladder, can't get it, goes to get the food on the different shape, different color one. There's its food. It works out. It's got to step on each rung of the ladder. Takes a little while to start with, but when it's worked that out, again, the parrot trainer can move the rung of the ladder to the next one down. Next day it comes down, knows what it can do. It steps on each rung of the ladder to get its food. But because it got rewarded once for shortcutting, it's going to keep trying to shortcut all the time. If you reward a salesperson even once for shortcutting a process, how often is the salesperson going to try and shortcut it? Probably lots. If you have a standard that you want people to turn up to work with their tie on, not around their neck, if you allow one of your salespeople to get away with it once, what's it tell you about your standards? It's not real. It's not that important, okay? So the parrot, it works out, I've got to step on every rung on the ladder. And what they do is after a while, they can move the rung on the ladder a little bit further down, a little bit further down. Then what they do is they put a red line across the floor and it just keeps going to that red line till it comes down the ladder, gets the red line. Each time getting a bit of food every single time. Then it gets to the other side. It needs to start going up the ladder. Again, they gradually move the rung of the ladder, the different color, different shape one, till it gets to the top. It gets to the top. Okay, it says, where's my food? It starts turning around right, looking for its food, gets nothing. Then it starts turning left, looking for its food, and bang, they give it some seed. Okay. And then they work out that it's got to put its foot or its beak or something like that on the little lever to get the seed. So now, over time, they've rewarded all of the steps to get it right. They've rewarded the effort, not the result. See how it's the effort, not the final result. If you waited to reward them to get the final result, to do what you want to do, you'd be waiting a long time. You wait for a service advisor to go from start to finish and put the whole process on the vehicle upsell, okay? Setting the agenda, the objection handling. If you wait for them to get it 100% right perfectly and get the result of that tire, the air conditioning upsell, you might be waiting for a while. We've got to reward the effort along the process there, okay? So now, one day, the parrot is just going to be like a salesperson, okay? Parrot's going to come out and say, don't want your seed. Get it yourself. Can't be bothered. Now it knows what it should do. Of course, what can the trainer do? Zap, zap, zap. Okay. In fact, in the motor trade, there's this process where it's leave alone, zap, leave alone, zap, leave alone, zap. Now, what I mean by that is, so often you grab a senior manager, say, hey, you good at what you do? Invariably, they'll say yes. Okay, that's a good answer. I say, okay, well, here's a hard question. How do you know? And so often people say, well, it's been a while since I've been bollocked. Well, I've been here for 13 years, so I must be all right there. Or they'll point to how much profit they've made in the last 18 months, which wasn't really hard to make profit in the motor trade in the last 18 months in the UK. No disrespect to anyone there. We all did very, very well. But again, it's some circumstance there. But again, we point those things out. Leave alone, zap. Leave alone, zap. But if you just point out everything that's wrong, you got this wrong, you got that wrong, you got this wrong. People end up doing nothing because they think anything I do, it's not right anyway. We got to reward the effort, not the result. Think about that young child, okay, learning to walk. If you're a parent, how long did you encourage your child to walk before you give up? You never did. Oh, and also, you think about it, okay? When that child's learned to walk, firstly, it started picking itself up against some furniture, something like that, stood up and then fell flat on its bum. And as parents, we say, yay, well done. Baby still stood up. And the baby starts laughing and giggling, okay? Then the baby starts taking 1 step, 2 steps, and falls over, okay? And we're like, yay, well done, baby's first steps. Okay, you might remember the baby laughing and giggling away. You might be there at the moment, okay? And then when the baby walks from one side of the room to the other, yay, look at this, one side of the living room to the other way, and there's no stopping the baby. Think that through. We're encouraging the child. When it's stuffed up, if I stood here and fell over and landed flat on my bum, you wouldn't say, yay, well done, Simon, you stood up. No, you'd say, what the hell are you doing? You've been drinking through the day. What's that all about? Okay. But in the motor trade, that's what we do. Think it through. If we're going to encourage the child to walk, if we just turned around and said, now listen, I'm going to show you how to walk one more time. You'll notice everyone else in the family can walk except for you. And I'm going to tell you, your sister, she was walking at 11 months, okay? And actually, when I was your age, I was walking a lot better than you. So I'm going to show you one more time. If you can't get it right now, we're going to have to sell you on eBay. Okay, so it's 1 foot in front of the other. You'd never do that. I hear the same conversation in car dealerships regularly. Hey, when I was selling, I used to do this. Well, I did this. No, you're waiting for them to get it 100% right. I want you to reward the effort, not the result. It's the effort. Oh, by the way, any parents in the room, you know one of the worst things you could ever say to your son or daughter at school? Oh, you're so clever. Oh, you're so clever. Doesn't that just sound like encouragement? It does, doesn't it? But actually, you've got to reward the effort to get that result, not just how clever they are. Because I tell you why. If they're in primary school and you keep on saying, oh, you're so clever, you're so clever, you're so clever, the whole encouragement, the whole well done, the whole love might be on their smartness, their intelligence. If they go to school and they find someone that's more intelligent than them, they might realize that, oh, hold on, my whole self-esteem built up on my cleverness, I might not be as clever as mum and dad's always told me. No, just flip it around. When they've got that really good result at work, wow, you've done really well there, okay? You've worked really hard for that. Wow, at school, you've worked really hard to get that result. Because isn't it that hard work that's going to get them there in life? Probably is, isn't it? It's that hard effort that's going to get them the rewards in every part of their life, okay? So listen, back to this child walking, okay? We encourage the effort. Not the result, it's the effort. And we don't just turn around and say, can you see how everyone else can do it? I'll show you one more time. No, they'd never, ever walk. In fact, there's a lady in Australia. I was at the Australian Automotive Dealers Association, and she tells this great story about TADARS, how her son or daughter was going to TADARS. I thought, Christy Bear, my Christy Bear is my niece. She went off to TADARS. I thought, this is the same thing. They call it TADARS. It's actually just gymnastics, okay? And why do they call it TADARS? Because they do gymnastics, go boom, 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 twist around, curl, get to the end and go, ta-da! And when they do that ta-da, that's where they get round of applause. And this lady was talking about these TADARS, and I thought, Chrissy Bear definitely calls it TADARS as well. And she went on to say that we have staff members, employees, they're looking for those TADARS all the time. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say you got a niece or a nephew, okay? Let's call them, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And they come and draw you a picture, okay? They come and draw you a picture. And they go, there, Uncle Simon, just draw you a picture. And we sit there and go, wow, that's brilliant. What is it? It's a boat, Uncle Simon. Of course is it. I see it now. That's a sensational boat. What are we going to see pictures of all afternoon? You're sitting there thinking, you think that's a good boat. Wait till you see this. And you're going to see another picture of a boat and another picture of a boat until their mother or father says, Uncle Simon's seen enough boats now. Because what would actually happen is that nephew, their niece, come along and say, Uncle Simon, I drew you a picture. What is it? It's a boat. That's a boat. Are you serious? That's a boat. Listen, that's the Titanic you're drawing right there. It's a sailboat, it's a steamboat, because that's going to sink. Water's going to get in the hole there. And how old are you? You're 4. And that's the level of boat that you're drawing now. I worry about this country now. If that's the level of boats. When I was 4, you should have seen the boats I was drawing. Mozart actually wrote a symphony when he was 5. How many pictures of boats are you going to see? Not anymore. Well, back to the first scenario. If you go, wow, that's a great boat, something else happens. You see, the niece or the nephew, they might have a sibling. That's not 4, they're 5 3/4. When they're seeing this happening, guess what they're thinking? You think that's a good boat? Wait till you see this. You're going to see pictures of boats all afternoon. Guys, I'm going to leave you with this, okay? And we've talked about this some psychology before, and go back and have a listen to them, okay? And there's so many great examples of this, but I urge you to catch people doing things right in the business this week. Now, don't go and praise the person, praise the effort. If someone's done a really good job trying to find stock at the moment and doing some prospecting, I know lots of you guys are, okay? And they made lots of calls there, and the effort. Hey, well done on making those calls. You've done really, really well with those. If someone's sold a gap policy where they haven't really been selling gap in the past, hey, well done. I really appreciate the way that you did this. Okay. It's that effort, not the results you're looking for. Effort is going to get them there. So that's where I urge you to go through and look for the effort there and praise the effort. Look for the ta-das in your business, because I tell you what, they tend to breed. Let me give you a real world practical result on this one. There's a business manager that I was working with a while back, and he was pulling his hair out and said, Simon, would you help me here? I've got this salesperson, okay? He's the top salesperson here, but he's just not selling gap at all. And I'm getting in the neck. He's just not introducing it. I don't know if he doesn't believe it. It's just really, really bad, okay? Now, the downside is he's the top salesperson in the dealership. Whenever the business manager would go and say to his boss, hold on, this salesperson's not doing a good job here. The boss would say, hold on, don't tell me he's not doing a good job. He's selling me 300 units a year, okay? You're the business manager. It's your job to get the gaps sold. And it was a double-edged sword where it was actually the top guy wasn't selling it. So his whole penetration was considerably worse. That's right. Let's try this. And I'm going to tell you, the BM, okay, Gareth, his name was a bit skeptical to start with. I said, come on, let's try it, okay? So one day, accidentally, through no fault of his own, he's going to sell gap. What I want you to do is praise the effort. Do the well done. Look for the ta-das, but do it in front of other people. Okay, you've all heard about the praise sandwich before. Okay, the bollock sandwich sometimes it's called when you've got to bollock people, but you praise in front of people, bollock on a one-to-one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to give him that wow, those ta-das there. So what happened? He phoned me up. He said, Skip, it's worked exactly as you said. So go on, tell me what's happened. Okay, so one day, accidentally through no fault of his own, this salesperson actually sold a gap. I mean, the customer might have picked up the brochure from the desk or had it before and said, great, I'll go ahead with that. He actually walked in to the office, the sales management's office where the business manager, sales manager is, and said, there you go, I've sold you a gap. Okay, like he was doing him his favor. He says, Skip, every part of me wants to say, no, you've not sold me a gap. You sold it for yourself. And thank goodness for that. But I bit my tongue. Okay. I said, oh, great. Well done. Really appreciate that. Listen, would you do me a favor? Will you show the new guy how you did it? And the business manager said he's seen the worst presentation on gap insurance he's ever seen. He said every part of him wanted to go and say, that's a crap way of selling gap. No wonder you're not selling gap. That makes sense now. That's useless. But of course, wouldn't the business manager be saying, that's a crap boat? It just wouldn't have worked. He bit his tongue. He said, yeah, great. Thanks a lot for that. He got the new guy and said, yeah, you can do it that way, or you can sell gap this way. Okay. Of course, he praised him. The very next deal, what did this actually salesperson do? Yeah, you're right. Sold another gap. Next morning in the sales meeting, this person sold 3 cars that day because he's a big hitter. 2 of them had gap. So in front of all the other siblings, the business manager said, listen, well done on that. I really appreciate it. Would you do me a favor? Would you show the team how you actually sold it? The business manager then said he's seen the second worst presentation on gap insurance he's ever seen. He's getting better now, isn't he? Yeah, he's getting better now because, okay, he was a gifted salesperson. You can't sell 300 units a year without being gifted. But something funny happened. All the other siblings said, that's a crap boat. You're only 4. I'm 5 3/4. I'll show you a good boat. So the other salespeople saying, oh, that's crap way of selling gap. I do it like this. No, I do it that way. The business manager said he could see this salesperson in the corner sitting there thinking, yeah, I'll show you. You could almost see the cogs turning over. Now, this guy, that week, he had a challenge now. He sold more products than he had, or gap products, than the other guys in the team. The finance director for this group turned around and said, hey, listen, well done on that. That's a big effort. Real big effort there. Notice how they're giving him the reputation. Listen, guys, you know that in that next month, he actually sold more gaps than anyone else in that group, okay? I think it's because of that tadars. Now, guys, it's not permanent. You've got to keep doing it. So this is what I urge you to do on this one. Okay. This week, go out and look for the effort. Praise the effort, not just the result. In the motor trade, too often, it's just the result that we reward people on. That's the commission. It's the effort. Praise and look for the effort in front of everyone else there. Because these tadars, they start breeding in the dealership. And you might want to forward this on to all your management team as well. And make sure that they're looking for the tadars in their business. Anyway, that about does it for now. Hope you got some good ideas from it. And I'll see you again next time. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, symcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.